I transmigrated to a cultivation world. I thought I'd become an immortal emperor, standing above all others. But I discovered this world had entered its age of declining magic. Cultivators' lifespans were cut in half. The upper limit of cultivation was locked at the nascent soul stage. Luckily, I was bound to an immortality system. For every year I survived, I'd unlock a new attribute. And I'd get free attribute points too. But no one told me I'd lose all my senses. At this moment, I had just been born. The midwife frowned as she looked at me. This kid isn't crying or moving at all. I'm afraid he's a stillborn. Hearing that, my mother, Mrs. Lee, snatched me into her arms. You old hag, stop spouting nonsense. There's no way my Yongnian is a stillborn. My father, Li Yushin, picked up a broom nearby. If you dare curse my son again, I'll beat you to death. Seeing this, the midwife scrambled out of our house in a panic. I'm just telling the truth. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. Everyone, come here and take a look. The Lee family had a stillborn. Who knows what kind of bad karma they built up in a past life. The next moment, the whole village swarmed to our doorstep. Maybe their family got tainted by something unclean. We'd better stay away from their house from now on. The Lee family's ancestors must have done something shameful. Otherwise, how could they have given birth to such a freak? Upon hearing this, my dad charged out with the broom. He smacked the old man who said that. My Yongnian is perfectly fine. Anyone slandering us, I'll beat them to death. Seeing this, the crowd scattered and ran. Here comes Yushin. He must be crazy, maybe because he has a guilty conscience. Run quick. Who knows what a crazy person like him will do? Under these circumstances, my parents insisted on raising me even without my 5 senses. A few years later, I had a younger sister. She was named Anruo. As my little sister grew up, the gossip in the village got worse. Some old ladies would often point at my sister and whisper, "Their family is just getting what they deserve." They finally had a healthy child after a disabled son. But it turns out she's just a girl. Still just a girl, though. My little sister's face turned bright red with anger. You old ladies don't even have 2 teeth left between you. Yet you still talk bad about my brother. You're not even as good as Uncle Zhao's dog, Huankai. The big black dog next door heard its name. It immediately rushed out, barked fiercely at the old ladies. Scared, they hurriedly staggered away toward home. That beast isn't reasonable either. Then my sister patted Huankai's head. Huankai, when will my brother get better? Right then, I had just finished listening to the system's update. These years I've been forced to lie in bed. But everything my family faced, the system would tell me. I cursed it at its phantom image. Other systems let you be invincible from the start. At least they'd awaken some 3S level superpower. Or at the very least, give you a contract with some immortal empress. But you immediately turned me into a vegetable. Look at your system panel. The attributes I've unlocked all these years are trash. I don't even want to add points anymore. These attributes are just like you. Pure garbage. At that, the system cleared its throat and said, "Stop cursing. Stop cursing. Didn't I promise you compensation? Every 5 years, I'll give you a special skill or item." Before the system could finish, I immediately snapped back. You got the nerve to mention that? I trusted you, but you tossed me in the gutter. You gave me some Taiwan body refinement manual. What's that supposed to mean? What is it, anyway? It just gives a paralyzed guy the illusion he can box. As I spoke, my tone grew dispirited. I'm going on a hunger strike from now on. You'd better find another host. As soon as I finished, the system hardly spoke up. Don't rush to die just yet. It's just been 5 years. I'll give you another special privilege. Then, a white rune appeared in my mind. This rune can unlock special attributes. You can spend a trib, Ute points to increase the chance of getting better quality. The higher the quality, the rarer the attribute. But the chance of failure and success are both 50-50. It's your choice. I looked at the system panel, saw the 10 unused free attribute points. If I get a trash attribute again, I'll die right in front of you. So I immediately went all in. As the attribute points went to 0, The room kept flashing between different colors. Success and failure messages kept ringing in my head. Finally, the room turned gold. Then the system announced, "Congratulations, host, you have gained the special attribute, spiritual sense. Current spirit sense value, 1 point." I was instantly energized. System, I finally found at least one good thing about you. You have to keep it up from now on. Got it? The next moment, my eyes and ears grew warm. Everything around me turned into black and white images. They appeared in my mind. My parents' figures gradually showed up before my eyes. And I heard my mother's voice. Maybe I should sell some of my dowry. Didn't a wandering Taoist come recently? Maybe he can save Yongnian. Before my dad could answer, I rushed to sit up in bed, then turned my head to look at them. Seeing this, the water kettle in Mom's hands fell to the ground. Dear, Yongnian can move. He can see us now. I must be dreaming. Right, just then, my dad let out a yelp. Honey, it's real. That's me you're pinching. At that, Mom hardly let go. She immediately ran over and hugged me, sobbing. Thank the heavens. My dad wiped his tears behind her. Soon, both my parents had calmed themselves. Mom held onto my arm. Yonian, can you walk? Let me help you outside and see. I nodded at her. Seeing that, she immediately helped me to the door and led me toward where the crowd had gathered. There an old Taoist held a glowing stone. People were excitedly pressing their hands on it, only to leave looking disappointed. A young man muttered, "Is this spirit measuring stone broken? How come no one has spiritual roots?" Someone quickly covered his mouth. Don't talk nonsense. That's an elder from Zaijin Mountain's second-ranked sect. Whoever gets accepted into Lishan sect is really lucky. At that moment, he turned and saw me. His eyes widened in shock. Isn't that the paralyzed kid? How is he moving? As soon as he pulled away, someone exclaimed, "So what? Still blind and deaf though." At that, the old Taoist turned his attention to me. I've spent 100 years cultivating, yet I've never seen such a unique specimen. If he could join my Yu Mountain sect, he'd surely earn a place in the world of cultivation in the future. The surrounding townsfolk gasped. This boy really has a heavenly fate. I knew he was blessed with great fortune. Look, the elder just arrived. He won't be greedy anymore. At this moment, the old Taoist handed the spirit testing stone to me. I didn't even hesitate and pressed my hand on it. A few minutes later,
he took back the spirit testing stone, looking puzzled.
Did I misjudge? Then he used a wisp of spiritual stone to probe my body. Turns out my senses were sealed. No wonder the spirit testing stone didn't react. As he spoke, he took out half a spirit stone and shoved it into my hand. If you can absorb the spiritual energy inside, maybe you'll be able to change your constitution. With your talent, you'll definitely soar to great heights. Then he looked at the crowd in front of him. It was getting late. This recruitment event ends here. With those words, he flew off on his sword. Seeing this, everyone who didn't get to test their spiritual roots was beating their chests in frustration. Why did the immortal just leave? I haven't tested yet. But he was already gone. The crowd could only disperse helplessly. Time passed quickly. My little sister also started working as an assistant in the pharmacy. One day, the system's notification sounded in my mind. Host. Awesome! You survived another 5 years! Reward. Special item. Fresh magic breaking pill no 3. Hearing this, I clenched my fist. So you're just a fun-loving system, huh? Look at your inventory. Fresh magic breaking pill nus. 1, 2, and 3. If you collect 7, you can summon Shenren and make a wish. The system exclaimed in surprise. How do you know that? Did you peek at my script behind my back? I perked up. Are you serious? The system lowered its voice. Of course I'm not. I was so mad I sat up in bed. Just then, my little sister walked in carrying a bamboo basket. Brother, over the years I've gotten to know a lot about medicinal herbs. I want to gather herbs in the mountains to earn some money for the family and help lessen Mom and Dad's burden. Will you go with me? I nodded at her. Little sister is so sensible. Way better than this useless system. but there must be plenty of wild animals in the mountains. Thinking of that, I took all the skill points I'd saved for over 10 years and invested them in the strength attribute. Suddenly, a warm sensation surged through my body. I felt strength all over. In the days that followed, I went up the mountain every day with little sister to gather herbs. That day was especially hot. Yet little sister was wearing the thickest cotton coat. Seeing this, I pushed her back into the house. Then I cooked her a bowl of ginger soup. She tried to get up again, but I firmly made her stay down. After settling her in, I headed into the mountains alone. 2.5 hours later, I was on a hillside, digging up an ephedra plant over 1/2 meter tall. But just then, something suddenly hit me. The ephedra in my hand was gone. I turned to look, saw a weasel, carrying an ephedra bigger than itself, running away. Furious, I uprooted the willow tree beside me. I had been digging for over half an hour, and you just swooped in and stole it. Half the bamboo shoots in this mountain are picked by the system, and I'm sure you took the other half. Thinking that, I grabbed and threw the willow tree with all my strength. The weasel jumped up, its fur bristling. Damn, met a tough one today. You look skinny. So how are you this strong? Hearing that, I shuddered. Damn, this yellow fur can talk. Could it be it's become a spirit from cultivation? Is it about to ask for a title from me? Next thing I knew, it was trembling on the ground. Great immortal big bro. Boss, please spare me this time. I have elders above, little ones below, and a bunch of wives at home waiting to be fed. I rolled my eyes straight away. Who cares about your stuff? Just don't ask me if you're human or immortal. Thinking that, I hurried forward and put the ephedra in my basket. Then I turned and walked away. But that same night, the weasel actually climbed through my window into my room. I stared right at it. Damn, is this thing here to recognize a master or something? Though with my current strength I could squash it. What if I messed up? They say weasels hold grudges. Buddha bless. While I was thinking, the weasel climbed onto my bed, sniffed all around me, and when it finally saw my face, it stood up and pressed itself tight to the wall. All my life I've done good deeds, not for glory, but to avoid mistakes. So why do I always encounter this troublemaker? As he spoke, he got so scared he couldn't hold back his bladder, and peed right there. I jumped out of bed immediately. Good thing I moved fast. Otherwise, I'd be filthy. I wanted to hold back and keep the peace, but I can be killed, not humiliated. The weasel's legs went weak, and he knelt down instantly. I didn't know you were the boss here. Spare me this time, please. He begged while bowing to me. All I want is a full meal. That's the truth from my heart. Heaven and earth can testify. Hearing that, I froze with my fist in midair. It's just about the spot. Is this really necessary? I rolled my eyes, then went to the kitchen and brought him some leftover rice. He was moved to tears and finished every last bit. Then he climbed out the window and left. After that, the weasel often came to my room. I'd feed him steamed buns or leftovers, and sometimes he'd bring me spiritual fruit from the mountains. One noon, while eating, little sister suddenly put down her bowl. Brother, lately you mountain sect has been recruiting disciples in town. I want to try for a chance at immortality too. Hearing that, I paused in the middle of eating. Although for ordinary people, immortal fate is nearly impossible, but it's the age of decline, so sects have relaxed their requirements for new disciples. Little sister's still young, so she can definitely try. With that thought, I nodded at her. That afternoon, I went out with little sister. Just as we arrived in town, I saw the same old doist from 20 years ago. In front of him, a girl pressed her hand on the spirit testing stone. Next second, he shook his head, no spiritual root. No hope for immortality. As his words finished, the girl left in despair. Seeing this, a young man sighed. How many has it been now? Still no spiritual roots. Hearing that, others chimed in. Yeah, already more than 10. US old folks can't do it, and the young ones can't either? Wait, look. Isn't that Lee family's kid? With those words, everyone turned to me, standing in the middle of the line. Wasn't this kid born without spiritual roots? Maybe after 20 years his spiritual roots appeared? I think he just can't let it go. My little sister was about to argue, but I stopped her and stayed in line. It took a while before it was little sister's turn. She reached out and pressed her hand on the stone tablet. A green light immediately shot out from her palm. Illusions of grass and trees began growing all around. Seeing this, the old Dost exclaimed, "That's a heaven-grade wood spirit root. In all these years, this is my first time seeing one. What incredible luck!" As he spoke, he strode toward my little sister. "Would you like to join our Leshan sect? Our sect is abundant with resources. We can absolutely help you on your path to immortality, reaching the pinnacle." At that moment, my sister looked back at me. I nodded to her. Only then did she bow respectfully to the old Taoist. "This girl, Lianru, is willing to join you mountain sect." As soon as she finished speaking, the crowd broke into a commotion. She actually has a top-tier heaven spirit root. Her family must have extraordinary luck now. This is the old Li family. They're probably about to skyrocket. From now on, even Li Yushin will be able to stand tall. The old Taoist then helped my sister up. "No need to be so formal. From now on, you mountain sect is your home." He then turned to look at me. "I still remember you very well. Your little sister is truly blessed." As he spoke, he scanned me with a trace of his spiritual sense, and then sighed. "It looks like our fate is all tied to this young lady. Maybe your path doesn't lie in cultivation, but elsewhere." He then handed me a bag of snacks. "Well, since it's such a happy occasion, consider this my treat to you. Let's take this as the start of a good relationship." With that, he took my sister and flew away on his sword. In the more than 20 years after my sister left, our parents' health gradually declined. Eventually, they both passed away in succession. Time flew by. One day, I had just returned from gathering herbs in the mountains, when the system's voice suddenly rang out. "The 5 years are up. It's time for another special reward." I looked at all the useless items the system gave me over the years. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if you gave me a pile of crap. The system sounded a little annoyed. "So you look down on me, huh? I'm an immortality system, and you think I would scam you with something so useless. This time, I'll reward you with something really powerful." As it spoke, a ball of golden light appeared in front of me. But when the light faded, I started cursing at the system. "Are you messing with me or what? Why are you giving me a pile of crap?" The system just chuckled slyly. "Inside this is a special attribute almost on par with spirit sense." Hearing that, I swallowed. Should I take the risk or not? Then, gritting my teeth, I picked up that unspeakable thing. Seeing this, the system quickly shouted, "Bro, stop right there. I just wanted to lighten the mood, that's all. Why did you have to take it seriously?" Right then, that unspeakable thing immediately vanished. The system's voice echoed again. "Congratulations, host, you've gained the special attribute, Spirit Voice. Current Spirit Voice attribute value, 1 point." Then, in my throat, I felt a burning sensation, as if it reached my soul. Before I could even snap out of it, the weasel appeared on my bed out of nowhere. Right then, he widened his eyes. "Whoa, bro, you just absorbed that thing directly? Maybe I came at a bad time." As he spoke, he started to turn and leave. I got anxious and blurted out, "It's not what you think." Let me explain. Hearing this unfamiliar voice, even I was stunned. "Wait, can I talk now?" The system actually didn't mess with me. Saying that, I grabbed the weasel's tail. "I can talk again. No more being mute for me." The weasel clung to my arm for dear life. "I know you're excited, but hold on a sec. If you pull any more, I'm gonna fart. I know you have a strong stomach, but don't trick me into feeding you." A few minutes later, I finally calmed down. "Just you wait. Since I'm in a good mood today, let's have some late-night snacks, just you and me." With that, I headed straight to the kitchen. A few minutes later, I set 2 steaming bowls of noodles on the table. Seeing this, the weasel jumped right onto the table. "That's what makes you my best bro." He immediately buried his head in the bowl and started eating. Not long after, The weasel licked the bowl spotlessly clean. Bro, since you're so awesome, let your little bro ask for a favor. A spirit beast snake took over my cave residence. I can't beat it. Can you help me get my territory back? I picked up some noodles from my own bowl and tossed them to him. A spirit beast skin and snake gallbladder can sell for good money. Besides, I also want to see just how overpowered this strength attribute is. If it really works, then I'll just focus on breaking all techniques with pure strength. Thinking that, I looked up at the weasel. Has that serpent developed intelligence yet? Any special abilities? He touched his head. Even when I cursed his ancestors back then, he didn't react. He probably hadn't gained sentience. As for any special abilities, I didn't notice any. He was simply very strong. I put down my bowl and chopsticks. I'll go with you tomorrow. But you need to be ready to look for a new home. Early next morning, I opened the system panel. With all the attribute points I'd saved over the years, I put them all into strength. My strength attribute instantly reached 35. A burning sensation spread through my whole body immediately. I flicked my finger lightly at the cup on the table, instantly shattering it to pieces. Seeing this, I was thrilled. Back when my strength was only 10 or so, I was just strong enough to uproot willow trees. Now at 35 points, I could almost take off. I had the weasel coil itself around my neck, pretending to be a scarf, so it would be easier for us to move together. Then I got up and headed to the blacksmith's shop. The shop owner frowned when he saw me, then looked me up and down with curiosity. Oh, it's you, kid. Why are you wearing a scarf in this hot weather? He squinted his eyes. It's been decades already, so why do you still look like you're in your 20s? Your little sister must have gotten you a lot of elixirs, right? How about sharing some with me? I'll trade you silver for them. I just smiled and didn't answer. I picked out a handy short sword, paid, and left the shop. As soon as I reached the mountain foot, the weasel jumped down from my neck and led the way for me. I followed him through twists and turns, and finally entered a gloomy cave. Inside, I saw a giant python curled up, sleeping soundly. Its body alone was 5 or 6 meters long. I crouched carefully beside the python, drew the short sword from my waist, and stabbed hard at its weak point. But in the next second, it suddenly opened its eyes and lunged at me with its mouth wide open. I dodged instinctively, but when the python missed its attack, it actually twisted in midair and used its momentum to swing its tail at me. I hurriedly reached out and grabbed.
Its thick tail.
Then, using my arm strength, I flung it hard. The python's body was stretched out straight in an instant and slammed to the ground. Before it could react, I quickly stepped forward and pinned its head down. Then I stabbed its weak point with the short sword. The python twitched a few times on the ground and then stopped moving. At this moment, the system voice sounded, "Congratulations, host, for killing the juvenile spirit python. You've gained 5 extra strength points. Current strength attribute, 40 points. No special item reward." I was stunned for a few seconds. What's going on? A system as big as you still withholds items from me? The system replied disdainfully. Where do you think the special reward every 5 years comes from? Of course, it's exchanged by using attribute points as breakthrough rewards. I clutched my chest. You damned thing. How were you so kind back in the day? Turns out I was wrong about you. Saying this, I closed the panel, and then turned to look at the python's corpse. No matter how mad I get, it's still not smart to turn down money. Just then, the weasel ran over. Big bro, you did it again. You killed this beast with just a few punches and kicks. Over an hour later, I happily walked out of the cave, carrying the whole snake skin rolled up on my shoulder, and put a lot of snake's meat in my basket. The rest went to the weasel. Back in town, I took the snake skin to the bone broth shop first. The owner's eyes couldn't leave it. Such an intact python skin is really rare. Saying that, he stuffed a bag of loose silver into my hands. On my way home, I was thinking if snake skins are worth this much, hunting in the mountains can make money and build strength. That's a good deal. From that day on, I became a regular in the mountains and started hunting all kinds of wild animals. Over a decade passed, and I grew more and more experienced at hunting. I even saved up a dozen or so free attribute points. That day I was hunting a wild boar, when the ground suddenly started shaking violently. Right after that, a mountain-moving gorilla covered in blood rushed out. Its body alone was over 8 meters tall. Seeing that, I couldn't help but take a few steps back. This is one of the most infamous beasts. Which master was strong enough to drive him into such a sorry state? Before I could think further, the mountain-moving gorilla swung a punch at me. I threw my fist to meet his. With 40 points of strength, why would I be afraid of you? I dodged his main force and made the mountain-moving gorilla take a couple steps back from my blows. But I heard a slight cracking sound in my own arm bones. Truly worthy of a mountain-moving gorilla. His strength matches mine. I felt more and more excited, clenched my fists, and charged at the gorilla. In response, he roared loudly, clenching both fists and slamming them down at me. There was a huge boom. The dirt and stones were all smashed to flying dust. I dodged his attack, crawled up his body along his arm, and by the time he reacted, I was already on his shoulder. The gorilla reached out to grab me, but I slammed my fist hard into his temple. A terrible wail echoed through the forest. The mountain-moving gorilla stumbled and fell over. The system voice sounded, "Congratulations, host, for unlocking your potential and defeating a key refining stage mountain-moving gorilla. Reward, 10 free attribute points." I looked down at my fist. Whoa, 10 points just like that. So the rewards for defeating a tougher opponent are really generous. I found a rock and sat on it. This is just the outskirts, and I already ran into such a fierce mountain-moving gorilla. To play it safe, I should add more attribute points before heading deeper into the mountains. After all, immortality is just not dying of old age. That doesn't mean I can't get killed by someone. So I opened the system panel and scrolled for a while. Spirit Sense can show me my surroundings and let me hear sounds, which really helps avoid sudden dangers. I'll upgrade this one. So I put 19 attribute points into Spirit Sense. The system notification sounded. Congratulations, host. Special attribute Spirit Sense has reached 30 points. Spirit Sense evolves into Heart Sense. Now the host can hear the thoughts of any other creatures within a certain range. Before I could get excited, the weasel darted out from the trees nearby. He circled the mountain-moving gorilla a couple times. "Big bro, did you kill this gorilla?" If I remember right, it used to live deep inside the mountain range. Why'd it come out here to the edge? As soon as he finished, I sensed a dozen or so figures running toward me. Their thoughts also entered my mind. We spent over half a month preparing, and this mountain-moving gorilla still escaped us. And we even lost quite a few. Brothers. Old Lee, just wait, I'll kill this gorilla and avenge you. And I'll take care of your wife from now on too. Right then, a dozen men in black rushed out from the woods, raising their knives and surrounding me. The weasel was so scared it jumped right onto my shoulder. Seeing this, I drew the short sword from my waist and listened to the thoughts of these dozen men. Keeps ringing in my ears nonstop. Who is this lanky guy? Could he be the son of some noble family out here for training? Could it be that our Black Cloud gang is exposed? I gripped my sword even tighter. These guys are actually the notorious Black Cloud gang. Wanted bandits in town for years, just to make a big fortune. They actually dared to target the mountain-moving ape. At this moment, a short, chubby, middle-aged man stepped out. "Put your weapons down, all of you. We're just a hunting party, not some evil bandits. What if we scare the young man?" Saying this, he took a few steps forward. "Don't be afraid. You killed this mountain-moving ape, right? May I ask, young man, who is your master?" On the surface, he seemed polite, but inside he was plotting about the weasel on my shoulder. The yellow weasel on his shoulder just talked. It must be a spiritual beast with intelligence. If I take it back, I could probably make a lot of money too. But first, let's see if this kid has any connections. I put away my dagger. I'm just a country bumpkin. Nothing special about me. I only have a little sister with a heavenly spirit root. She's cultivating at Lishan's sect, that's all. Hearing this, the middle-aged man stroked his chin. He even has a cultivator as his backer. Why would he need to go out hunting? Shouldn't he be enjoying life at home? He must be scared, and said that on purpose. Then he glanced at the mountain-moving ape. This beast probably froze to death after running here. And this kid just happened to run into it. Thinking that, he smiled and spoke. I was wondering, with arms and legs as skinny as yours, you could kill the mountain-moving ape. And you have a little sister who's a cultivator. If you really had such a powerful backer, would you need to risk your life hunting in the mountains? I sighed quietly. I'm telling the truth, why don't you believe me? I really do have a little sister with a heavenly spirit root. She's cultivating at Lishan sect. The middle-aged man shouted to the others, still trying to lie. Brothers, get him. As soon as he said it, everyone swung their knives at me. I quickly punched the nearest man's chest. He spat blood and was sent flying back. Seeing that, the others paused a bit. I seized the opening, threw several punches at the people around me. Meanwhile, others tried to attack my back. Seeing this scene, the weasel on my shoulder stuck its butt up and sprayed a foul gas right into their faces. Everyone immediately screamed in pain. Damn, what the hell is that smell? It's even worse than Widow Yu's sweaty feet back in town. Taking advantage while everyone was distracted, I took them all down, one punch each. In less than half a stick of incense, I knocked them all out. I crouched down to search their pockets. Man, this feels really good. It's kind of addictive. What's going on? As I spoke, I stuffed the banknotes and loose silver into my own pocket. Maybe I should figure out how to learn fireball spell someday. Grab the cash, burn it all in one go like a dragon. The weasel next to me was trembling. Big bro, you're supposed to be righteous, right? I shifted my gaze to the mountain-moving ape. I cut out its heart and a few pieces of meat with bones. These are all worth a lot of silver. Too bad I don't have a storage pouch. The bamboo house can only carry so much. Then I headed straight down the mountain to Skinny Bones Hall. The shopkeeper saw the mountain-moving ape parts. His eyes bulged wide. Oh my god, where did you get these things? This is the mountain-moving ape. I ignored him, took the big bag of silver and left. Before I got home, I was stunned. I saw my little sister, who I hadn't seen for years, zoning out at the door. I hurried over. My sister turned around. Brother, how have you been these years? Are mom and dad doing okay? She started crying as she spoke. I reached out to wipe her tears. After comforting her, I took my little sister inside. A few years ago, I stumbled upon some opportunity and healed my throat. Then, I piled the loose silver and banknotes on the table. My little sister stared wide-eyed. Brother, you didn't rob the town bank, did you? Where did you get so much money? I shook my head. You still don't know your brother? I'm just a nobody. The silver came from trading beast pelts I found. As for the banknotes, some unlucky folks know. Some kind-hearted people took pity on me and gave them to me. I didn't want them, but they insisted. You should have seen how passionate those uncles were. Upon hearing that, my little sister took out a bunch of bottles and jars from her storage pouch. Brother, take these pills. They can extend life, improve health, open the meridians, cleanse the body. Even though you don't have a spiritual root, if you ever get an opportunity, they'll come in handy. Then she pulled out a manual. This one's a key training manual. Bro, practice it when you have time. It's good for your body too. I stared at the storage pouch in her hand. Little sister, can you get me one of those pouches too? My sister handed me the storage pouch. This thing's not a big deal. But brother, you don't have spiritual power. How can you use it? I took the pouch. Don't worry, your brother may be skinny, but he's pretty strong. As I spoke, I used both hands and actually managed to slowly open the pouch. My sister covered her mouth in surprise when she saw. She couldn't even say a word out of shock. We chatted about everything. Before we knew it, night had fallen. I wanted her to stay for dinner, but she was in a hurry to return to the sect, so she flew off on her sword in a rush. Afterwards, I put the pills in the cabinet. Without a spiritual root, I didn't dare just take any of this. If I blew myself up from taking them wrong, who knows? Does the system have any pill refining attributes? If I make my own pills, I'd know the efficiency and whether they're suitable for my body type. Thinking of that, I opened the system interface. After searching for a while, I found the alchemy attribute. I'll save up some attribute points and use them. Learn to refine pills myself. If I really succeed, it'll be a new way to strengthen my attributes. No need to rely only on system points or drinking. In the blink of an eye, it's already autumn. Suddenly, urgent gong sounds echoed in the night. I rubbed my eyes. What's up with these vicious beasts? They keep charging down the mountain in packs these years. What on earth happened in the mountains? Just as I reached the village entrance, I saw a group of men with hatchets, standing side by side with the Wolf pack. I drew my short sword and joined the battle. A black Wolf opened its jaws wide and lunged at me. I dodged and drove my short sword straight into its throat. All those years hunting in the mountains paid off. I even managed to take down a mountain-moving ape. You puny guys are only good enough to shine my shoes. In less than half an hour, I'd already killed over a dozen black wolves. Suddenly, a long howl came from the back of the Wolf pack. A 3-meter-tall silver wolf walked out slowly. It bared its teeth at the surrounding black wolves. You losers. You can't even deal with a scrawny monkey like him. Move. I'll do it myself. The black wolves backed off, feeling wronged. It's not that we can't take him down. Who knew this skinny guy could fight like this? Every move is deadly. He's more beastly than us. Then the silver wolf charged straight at me. I dodged aside, caught its tail at the perfect moment, and swung it left and right. The wolves all retreated at the sight. Too brutal. He smashed holes into the ground. Even the terrors of the mountain aren't as vicious as this guy. After that whole routine, the chief will probably end up with powdery fractures. The black wolves immediately fled without looking back.
10 minutes later.
I let go of my grip, looking at the silver wolf convulsing with foam in the pit. Never seen such a weak wolf. I plunged my short sword straight into its neck. Then the system spoke. Congratulations, host. Key training +7, silver wolf. Reward, 5 free attribute points. My short sword suddenly jammed. What's so hard in there? I followed my hand along the sword, fumbled around and pulled my hand out. A milky white beast core appeared in my hand. I was delighted. Wow, unexpected bonus. This thing is worth a lot of money. Drinking it infused in water can improve physique. I tucked the beast core in my pocket. At that moment, everyone crowded over. Sleep forever, not bad. This kid might be a beast reincarnated. I went all out just to kill a black wolf. He took down the Wolf King with a few punches and kicks. I smiled at them, but didn't answer, then turned and went home. At night, I sat on a stool, resting my chin, deep in thought. Though the strength attribute boost is terrifying, it's still close combat in the end. Pretty risky. If only I could cultivate immortality and have some long-range attack methods. Fighting would be much easier then. In the end, I opened up the key training manual my sister left behind. Started practicing as the instructions said. But the spiritual energy just wouldn't enter my body. I let out a long sigh. As expected, without a spiritual root, I can't absorb spiritual energy. The path to immortality is sealed off. Stupid system. Did it take my spiritual root away back then? I slapped my thigh as I spoke.
It's possible.
There's nothing it wouldn't do. At that moment, the system spoke up. Detected host insulting the system. 10 free attribute points deducted. I instantly exploded with anger. That's just too much. Earlier you said, why didn't you talk back? The system chuckled slyly. Yeah, didn't you notice? Hasn't the special reward for 5 years not been distributed for a few years? I pointed at the system and cursed at it, calling it a damned thing. I said, why do you play dead every time I ask you about this? So this is what you were waiting for. The system immediately closed the panel on its own. I originally planned to surprise you, but it seems like you don't want it. How about I give you back all the items I took away? I hurriedly stopped the system, telling it to save up a big one for me. Stop giving me those garbage items to torture me. At my words, the system snorted and said, "At least you know what's good for you." Another 5 years passed. The system's voice sounded. "It's time to distribute the special reward again. What should I give this time?" I excitedly rubbed my hands. Let me take a look at my beloved system. What big surprise will it have for me? I'm so looking forward to it. The system laughed happily. Don't worry, don't worry. Then a scroll of sheepskin appeared in my hand. The system notification sounded. Congratulations, host. You've obtained the method to refine the 5 elements creation pill. This pill can not only rebuild your meridians, but also repair damage to your spiritual roots. I immediately felt reinvigorated. My beloved system really is the best. I just love you so much. Then I opened the scroll. The alchemy attributes provided by the system can increase my success rate in refining pills. Maybe I can use this 5 elements creation pill to create a spiritual root for myself. If that's really possible, then becoming an immortal emperor with immortality isn't out of reach. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Spring went by, autumn came. On this day, I opened the system panel. Looking at the alchemy attribute points in the 30s. These past 20-some years really went by fast. If not for adding points, I wouldn't have known that the alchemy attribute could also add to my knowledge of formulas and pharmacology. It's about time to start preparing the 5 elements creation pill. If a spiritual root really does get created, then my abilities will skyrocket. Better go buy some herbs first. Thinking this, I grabbed my storage pouch and left the house. As soon as I got to the entrance of the village, I saw a few middle-aged men whispering to each other. Did you hear? Something happened in the mountains. Who knows what? Those fierce beasts keep running out like crazy every few days. Quite a few people died on the east side of town just a few days ago. Yeah, even the hunting teams don't dare go into the mountains these days. Hearing this, I rested my chin in my hand and thought for a while. I remember when the wolves attacked the village years ago. I read the thoughts of a black wolf. It said there was a great terror in the mountains. I guess that's probably related to why the beasts are acting up. I sighed. That great terror could come out at any time. Looks like I need to change my plans. Refining the 5 elements creation pill will take time. Even if I manage to make it, who knows if it'll work. Might as well take a look at the Taiwan body refining technique first. So I headed back home. I had just closed the courtyard gate when I opened the system. I took out the Taiwan body refining technique book from my inventory. After flipping through a few pages, I couldn't help but feel confused. From what I've read in novels on Blue Star, it's normal for special techniques to need external aids. But why does the system's technique specifically require a ball to assist with circulation? I scratched my head, then opened the system inventory again. Looks like the system really gave me a ball-type item over the years. Let me take a look. Just because the name Magic Sphere sounds so weird, it can greatly accelerate the speed of cultivation. Works even better with the Taiwan body refining technique. As a golden light flashed, a yellow sphere appeared in my hand. It had strange patterns carved on it. Curious, I squeezed it a little. Whoa, it's pretty bouncy. I started training according to the Taiwan body refining technique. Passed the support sphere under my crotch a few times. Then rolled it from my left arm, over my shoulder and back to my right hand. Yet a sense of familiarity kept lingering when I finished a whole series of movements smoothly. Isn't this just the Kini Taime routine? I looked at the magic sphere with the finger mark in my hand. No wonder the pattern looks so familiar. Isn't it just overalls? Damn system, treating me like a clown. Luckily, as I performed the moves, my body's meridians started to feel hot. It felt like countless tiny hammers forging my body. Seeing this, I took a deep breath. Damn, I unfairly blame the system.
Enough said.
Even if it's embarrassing, I have to train. Then I kept twisting my shoulders as instructed. After practicing like this for 2.5 months, one morning I entered the mountains alone, hoping to find something to test my progress. After searching for a while, I set my sights on a giant boulder over 3 meters tall, then punched it with all my strength. In an instant, cracks appeared all over the boulder. The next moment, it shattered into countless pieces. I shook my hand. Hard work paid off. Now my meridians are clear. blood and energy are surging. But lately I've felt the Taiwan body refining techniques boost is getting weaker. Must be hitting a bottleneck. Maybe I should try my little sister's key cultivation technique. Who knows? Maybe I'll become a cultivator. Just then, a long howl echoed from the mountain foot. I was startled by the sound. The fierce beasts in the mountains are attacking the village again. Thinking this, I hurried down the mountain. By the time I rushed back to the village, it was already afternoon. Along the way, my anxiety grew. Villages near the mountain base had all been destroyed by fierce beasts. Just as I arrived at the village entrance, I saw several old ladies gathered in a circle. Why did all the beasts come charging out together today? They never risked their lives like this before. The mountain exploration team hasn't sent any news. Could they all have perished in the mountain? Hearing this, I felt tense, hurriedly turned back home. As soon as I got home, I dug out the key cultivation manual, sat cross-legged as instructed. But after practicing for nearly half a day, it was still futile. I sighed. No matter how strong the body is, without a spiritual root, it's meaningless. The system gives attribute points way too slowly, with the beasts stirring up trouble. I don't dare enter the mountain either. The only thing left is to try refining the 5 elements creation pill. See if I can create a spiritual root. That busty one might show up soon too. I need to hurry up. I put away the manual, grabbed my storage bag and went outside. Soon I arrived at the alchemist guild in town. After entering, I walked straight to the counter. A tall, thin, middle-aged man gave me a slight smile. I'm the manager of the herbs section. Little friend, compile the list of needed herbs for me. I handed over the list. He glanced at it, frowned, and said, "Young man, on your list, we have at least half of these out of stock." Hearing this, I stepped forward. What's going on? Want to know a few herbs are rare, but the rest are pretty common. I've seen plenty on my trips into the mountains over the years. This is such a big alchemist guild. How can you not even have half of them? Hearing this, the man sighed. To be honest, young friend, many herbs require a lot of spiritual energy to grow. But in this age of dwindling magic, spiritual energy is scarce. So herb yields drop year after year. Plus the beast riots in the mountains. If 10 people go pick herbs, 3 come back at best. Some herbs are so rare they're nearly impossible to obtain. Afterwards, he told me all the herbs that weren't available. I took the list back and looked it over, relying on my 30+ alchemy attribute points. Dozens of alternative herbs popped into my mind. I completely recompiled the list and handed it to him. Oh right, I remember you can rent an alchemy room here. Is that correct? The man nodded. Young man, will you pay in spirit stones or silver? I took out several silver notes from my storage bag. Let me rent half a day first. Have the herbs delivered directly to the alchemy room. He took the silver notes and led me upstairs. After waiting about half an hour, I received the herbs, lit the pill furnace, added the herbs according to the pill recipe. This whole pill-making thing is theoretically second nature to me. But when it comes to actually doing it, controlling the fire, even a tiny error leads to a huge disaster. The first batch exploded. The second batch got burnt. The third batch produced a pile of black slag. I kept sighing. 3 ruined batches, some burnt and some blown up. Do I really have to be this unlucky? The system's recipe isn't fake, is it? I then took a deep breath. It's just 1 pill. I refuse to believe I can't do it. When the 4th batch came, finally, the medicine floated out of the furnace. I stared firmly at the furnace.
Carefully adjusted the heat.
After more than 10 minutes, the furnace lid was pushed open by a burst of light. A pill with a soft 5-colored glow floated out. At the same time, the whole alchemy room shook suddenly. Dust fell from the pill furnace. Seeing this, I excitedly stood up. Success! The 5 elements creation pill. Although it looks like a low grade, it's still better than most pills on the market. Whether I can become immortal depends on this. I quickly grabbed the pill and stuffed it in my mouth. As the pill entered my stomach, a 5-colored light exploded inside me. Pure energy kept washing over my meridians. 5 small whirlpools formed around me. I felt something growing deep inside my body. Warmth radiated from it. I closed my eyes, feeling comfortable. A flower sprouted from my dantian. Its stem and leaves slowly grew, and a small bud formed. Then it stopped growing. I couldn't help feeling puzzled. Why isn't it growing anymore? Is the five elements creation pill just too low grade? But then, the surrounding whirlpool started spinning. Five-colored spiritual energy poured into my body and was completely absorbed by the flower. My cultivation stats soared from 0, jumped straight from key cultivation stage 1 to the peak of key cultivation, trying to absorb more. But my body was already saturated with spiritual energy. The whirlpools faded into glowing dots and scattered. I looked down at my hands, feeling the unopened five-colored flower within me. I've successfully created an artificial spiritual root. Now I can cultivate immortality, and in both physical and mystical arts. But before I could rejoice, there was a sudden bang. The door to the alchemy room was forcibly pushed open from the outside. I turned around to look. Why do these two look so familiar? I slapped my thigh. Aren't these the elders from the Alchemist Guild? Lu Xiaoyuan and Su Heng. They're important figures in this town. The two of them quickly walked in. Lu Xiaoyuan placed his hand on my shoulder. A strand of spiritual energy circulated within me. Thankfully, young man, you weren't hurt. That alchemy room shook quite a bit just now. We thought you blew up the furnace. Su Heng nodded in agreement.
Exactly.
Even 3 rooms away, you could feel the commotion. I waved my hand at them. Sorry to trouble you elders with your concern. It's nothing, I was just refining a pill. Ju Heng suddenly took a deep sniff. Wait, that's an incredibly pure medicinal aroma. As he spoke, he walked up to the furnace and sniffed again. This is definitely not an ordinary pill. Young man, what exactly did you refine? I rested my chin on my hand. Just a low-grade pill, that's all. Nothing special. Lu Xiaoyuan shook his head. There's no way a low-grade pill would smell this distinctive. And it would never make the whole alchemy room shake. Young man, no one will believe you if you say that. Su Heng kept sizing me up. With that aroma, it's at least a mid-grade pill. I helplessly opened my palm. How about this if you don't believe me? Just give me another set of ingredients. I'll refine one in front of you. How does that sound, elders? The two exchanged glances. Lu Xiaoyuan nodded. All right, young man. Wait a moment. I'll make arrangements right away. Soon, the ingredients were delivered to the room. I started the furnace again, this time with experience. My technique was much smoother than the first time. 2 hours later, the furnace was opened again. Once more, it was a low-grade 5 elements creation pill. The two took turns holding and inspecting the pill. They looked it over again and again, kept drawing closer, and sniffed it repeatedly. Su Heng stroked his beard. I've been in this field for 30 years, and I've never seen a low-grade pill of this quality. This aroma and color are truly one of a kind. Young man, where did you get this pill recipe? Lu Xiaoyuan also shifted his gaze to me. Exactly. If this recipe could be spread, it would be an incredible benefit to our alchemist guild. Young man, would you be willing to trade it? I rested my chin, thinking. I'm holding the complete recipe for the 5 elements creation pill. As long as I can gather the ingredients, I can even refine heaven-grade ones. In that case, this low-grade version hardly matters. Instead of keeping it to myself, it's better to exchange for some rare ingredients. Or even just some leads. Thinking of this, I looked up. The recipe was passed down from my ancestors. It's not to be shared outside the family, but I can refine more pills and exchange them for information about special ingredients. The two discussed it briefly. Then Lu Xiaoyuan took a few steps forward. That's not difficult. Young man, just make a list. I wrote a list on the spot and handed it over. To prevent them from reverse engineering the recipe, one included a dozen rare ingredients I wouldn't use, as well as some common ones you can't buy. If they're found, I can use them for something else. The two of them studied the list for a while after receiving it. Then Lu Xiaoyuan handed me a communication stone. I see you also have some key cultivation. Inject your spiritual power into it. You'll be able to check the origin of those medicinal ingredients. And some clues. I took the communication stone and infused a bit of spiritual power. Suddenly, loads of information flooded my mind. Cansui grass comes from Zhongdao City. Wangsan lotus is found in Henyang City. Most of them are deep in the mountains. I put the communication stone away into my storage pouch. Then I turned and entered the alchemy chamber again. Not long after, the two brought the medicinal ingredients in. I started the furnace and threw in the herbs. A few hours later, I handed out several bottles of low-grade 5-element creation pills, giving them to the two. I also told them their specific effects. Lu Shaiyon accepted them, beaming with joy. Little brother, if you ever need us in the future, just say the word. Su Heng cupped his hands along with him. The two personally escorted me out of the Alchemist's Guild gate. As soon as I went downstairs, everyone turned their gaze my way. Isn't that Elder Su Heng and Elder Lu Shaoyuan? They usually never greet outsiders. Who's that kid in the middle? He actually got personally escorted out by two elders. Never seen him before. He looks pretty young. Just as I stepped onto the stairs at the entrance, suddenly the ground shook beneath my feet. The earth began to tremble violently. I stumbled and almost fell. Then a deafening explosion sounded, coming from deep within the mountains. Everyone looked up. Far off, above the mountain range, 100-meter-wide column of black light soared into the sky. Thick, swirling black mist churned inside the beam. The system's voice rang in my mind. Detected high-concentration demonic aura. Host is advised to evacuate immediately. Before I could move, the black mist rapidly spread in all directions. In the blink of an eye, it blanketed half the sky. The Alchemist Guild's defensive array buzzed to life with a flash. Golden light covered the entire guild. But people outside the array suffered. Black mist landed on them. Their eyes instantly turned blood red. Black drool began to drip from their mouths non-stop. They immediately turned and lunged at those nearby. In a flash, screams erupted everywhere. Help! Someone! Please save me! They're all insane, completely crazy. 3 demonified civilians charged straight at me. I knocked each one out with a single punch. But the next second, the 3 stood up again in creepy poses, waving their arms and lunging at me again. Seeing this, I was startled. These things are just like zombies. They can't be killed. Lu Shaoyuan and Su Heng rushed forward together, blasting wave after wave of spiritual energy at the demonified civilians. Su Heng shouted loudly to the panicked crowd, "Everyone, evacuate to the protection array. It's safe in there." Just then, part of the black mist in the sky condensed into a giant hand and pressed straight down onto the defensive array. Within just a few breaths, the entire array exploded with a bang. The Alchemist Guild's buildings collapsed along with it. Agonized screams echoed everywhere. I was blown away by the shockwave, slamming right into a broken wall. Seeing this scene, Su Heng's eyes widened. This array can withstand a full-force attack from a golden core cultivator, yet it shattered instantly. Whoever controls that black mist must at least be nascent soul level. I gritted my teeth and stood up, wiping blood from the corner of my mouth. It's over. A nascent soul cultivator this time. I'm afraid even if I survive, I'll be seriously injured. Just when everyone had lost hope, a streak of golden light flashed across the sky. Then, a middle-aged man wielding a sword appeared in midair. When we saw who it was, Su Heng couldn't help but swallow hard. It's Sect Master Zhao Tianzheng of Yushan Sect. Senior Zhao is nascent soul stage. He's a big shot. We're saved. Zhao Tianzheng brought his left fingers together and pressed them on the sword blade, while his right hand slowly drew the sword back. Spiritual energy surged around him. The sword glowed with dazzling white light. The next second, a loud dragon roar echoed through the clouds. A majestic dragon's head appeared in the sky. As Zhao Tianzheng thrust his sword, the golden dragon dove straight toward the mass of black mist atop the mountain. The dense black mist formed a fierce valve shape, its mouth wide, colliding head-on with the golden dragon. A thunderous explosion resounded across the clouds. The golden dragon faded into a phantom and vanished. The scattered black mist gathered into a humanoid shape. Seeing this, Zhao Tianzheng frowned deeply. So it's a nascent soul stage ancient heavenly demon. The heavenly demon spoke disdainfully to him. I didn't expect in this era of thin spiritual energy, there'd still be cultivators like you. Back off. I won't kill you. Hearing this, Zhao Tianzheng snorted coldly. So what if spiritual energy is thin? You've been suppressed for endless years. Your power is surely less than a tenth of what it was. Otherwise, why taint mortals? To nourish yourself? As soon as he finished speaking, the heavenly demon shot at Zhao Tianzheng. If that's the case, then you die. In the next moment, the two faced off together. Zhao Tianzheng grew more exhausted the longer he fought. He waved his hand. Countless explosive talismans shining with golden light flew from his sleeve, heading straight for the heavenly demon. Seeing this, the demon hurriedly raised a hand to defend. Zhao Tianzheng seized the moment, burned his own essence blood, and slashed a 100-meter-wide blade of sword energy at the demon. A giant mushroom cloud exploded in the sky. The heavenly demon let out a miserable scream. Taking advantage of the blast, the demon turned into black light and sped away. Zhao Tianzheng landed and coughed up blood. After a brief pause, he took a few pills and swallowed them. Su Heng and Lu Xiaoyuan hurried forward. Lu Xiaoyuan took out a small bottle. Senior Zhao, this pill is low grade, but it can heal Meridian and Dao Foundation injuries. Zhao Tianzheng let his spiritual energy circulate through them both, ensuring they weren't demonified, then took the small bottle. Upon opening it, a rich medicinal aroma spread out. After considering carefully, he still ate the pills. Next, he sat cross-legged on the ground, rested a bit, and turned his gaze toward the two. When did the Alchemist Guild get such miraculous pills? A mere low-grade pill is just like a top-tier one. It can restore some of my lost essence blood. The two exchanged a glance. Su Heng pointed at me in the distance, not daring to claim credit before Senior Zhao. This pill is called the 5-element creation pill, brought by that little brother. Zhao Tianzheng stared at them for a moment, then nodded. He handed out 2 tokens to the two of them. If you reach Golden Core stage, come to Yushan sect as stewards of the Alchemy Peak. Before they could celebrate, Zhao Tianzheng teleported right in front of me. Did you bring the 5-element creation pill? I lowered my head and saluted. Greetings, Senior Zhao. Yes, that's true. Hearing this, he handed me a jade pendant. You saved me half my life, so to speak. This jade pendant can nourish your body. If you encounter danger, inject your spiritual power into it. I'll step in to guarantee your safety. With that, he turned into a flash of golden light and disappeared. I put the token into my storage pouch. He left so quickly. I was hoping to ask him some questions. Just then, Su Heng and Lu Xiaoyuan walked over. Before I could say anything, they were about to hand me a bag of snacks. Su Heng smiled. To be recognized by Senior Zhao. It's really thanks to you, little brother. I hurriedly pushed the bag back to them. This is what you two elders deserve. How could I dare to claim undeserved credit? After that, I turned and headed back to the village. That night, I took out the messaging stone. I slowly infused it with spiritual power. The herbs I need in small amounts are in another city, but most of them are deep in the mountains. If I want to refine higher quality 5 elements creation pills, I'll have to collect them myself. But that's where vicious beasts like the mountain-moving gorilla live. And now there's demonic energy on top of that. I have no idea what's going on in there now. I paced back and forth in my room. Should I go or not? With Senior's token, I should at least be able to save my life. Plus, I have the stats and items from the system. Guess I'll take a gamble. In this age where spiritual energy is fading, who knows when the world might become completely cut off from spiritual energy. I can't just rely on the system's stat points. I've got to put in some effort myself too. If I don't go, my cultivation will be stuck at the peak of key refining. But there's still a chance to improve. Just then, the weasel climbed in through the window. Bro, why do you look so serious? Does someone owe you money? I turned to look at him. It's nothing. I'm just planning to collect some herbs deep in the mountains tomorrow. He scratched his head when he heard that. I actually wanted to check out the depths too. Lately, I've been hearing some weird noises there. I'll wait for you at the foot of the mountain tomorrow. With that, he went out the window. The next morning at dawn, I hung the jade pendant Zhao Tianzhang gave me around my neck. Now that's some peace of mind. I brought the iron sword and storage pouch. Everything's ready. Then I headed out. As soon as I got to the mountain's base, I saw the weasel waiting on a rock. He hopped right onto my shoulder. Bro, I scouted a bit deeper in yesterday. There are lots of wild beasts, their eyes all blood red. They attack anything alive on sight. I strode into the mountains. Must have been corrupted by demonic energy. Now I get why the beasts kept fleeing the mountains before. Turns out a sky demon or something is still sealed up in there. After more than an hour of walking, black thread-like stuff started appearing on the trees. Even the grass on the ground was all dead. The weasel covered his nose. Bro, why does it stink more the deeper we go? Before he could finish, I sensed a figure rushing toward me at high speed. I hurriedly drew the short sword at my waist. In the next moment, a wild wolf sprang out from the bush. Its eyes were blood red, and black drool was dripping from its mouth. With its jaws wide open, it lunged at me. I dodged aside in a flash. Then I thrust the short sword, cutting a gash straight across its belly. But after rolling on the ground a few times, he stood up as if nothing happened. Seeing this, I couldn't help but take a few steps back. Just like those demonized townsfolk, this wolf just can't be killed. The longer this drags out, the more dangerous it gets. Wait a minute. I remember the system gave me some sort of club before. At that thought, I quickly opened the system's item inventory. Deadly club. Just hearing the name, it's not some decent thing. But I can't worry about that right now. Let's give it a try. I took the deadly club out from the inventory. It felt heavy in my hand. Before I could take a closer look, the wild wolf let out 2 howls and charged at me again. I swung the club, smashing it right onto its head. There was a loud bang, and the wolf's head was actually embedded straight into the ground. The black mist around it started to fade away as well. The system's voice rang out, "Congratulations, host!" Demon defeated. Award, 1 free attribute point. I stood up. You can get attribute points for killing demons? You should have said so sooner. Turns out these system items are actually useful after all. That demonized wolf couldn't even be killed with a knife. But this club settled the fight with 1 hit. Maybe I really misunderstood the system. Just then, the weasel jumped down to the ground, circling the wolf a couple of times. Bro, you're incredible. Is this club some kind of spiritual item or something? I put away my short sword. No big deal, just a little skill. Then I led the weasel deeper into the forest. On the way, we ran into plenty of demon-infested beasts, from 4 or 5 meter tall black bears to venomous bees the size of a fist. I just swung the deadly club, taking out each one with a single hit. By the end of the day, the system had already given me more than 20 attribute points. By afternoon, the weasel and I arrived at a pond. I tiptoed closer. Azure spirit grass, horsetail flower. So many rare herbs you can't even buy. Looks like Su Heng and the others didn't lie to me. The weasel on my shoulder pointed at the pond. Bro, I feel like there's so much spiritual energy coming from there. Hearing that, I turned toward the pond not far away. But my attention was all on the herbs. The spiritual energy around this pond isn't just thick, it's incredibly pure. Even just the energy around the edge loosened my cultivation bottleneck quite a bit. But it's really strange. Around this pond, there's not a trace of demonic energy. After I quickly gathered the herbs, I strode over to the pond. Using my spiritual sense to make sure there was no danger, I reached my hand into the water. Suddenly, an intense burst of spiritual energy surged into my body. The flower bud inside me actually started to grow slowly. Even the bottleneck of my cultivation kept loosening. I perked up in excitement. My artificial spirit root is finally reacting. There's more to this pond than meets the eye. What if I just get in and take a soak? Could I break straight through to foundation establishment or even higher? I pulled my hand back, thinking it over. But then again, what if I just explode from the energy? Whatever, I'll just give it a try. If it's too much, I'll just swim back out. No way the system would just sit back and watch me die, right? Thinking that, I bent my legs and jumped straight in. The next moment, the flower bud inside my body was wildly absorbing the pond's spiritual energy. In just under half an hour, the flower was already about to bloom. My cultivation shot up straight from the peak of key training, all the way to level 5 of foundation establishment. Looking at my hand, how come it's only mid-foundation establishment? Is it only a lower quality root? Does the 5 elements fortune pill only get me this far? Whatever, don't be greedy. Still, this pond's a real stroke of good luck. But just then, a hairless beast suddenly appeared in front of me. I instinctively threw a punch at him. But I checked just now. There shouldn't have been any danger. Where the heck did this bald freak come from? Seeing this, the creature raised its arms. Bro, don't hit me. I'm your beloved family. Weasel? My fist froze in midair when I heard that. Weasel, what happened to you? Why do you look like this now? He clung to my arm and burst into tears. I don't know either. Bro, you just jumped in without warning. At first it felt really nice. But once I saw my yellow fur floating away, it was all over. Hearing that, I quickly reached up to feel my own head. A bad feeling hit me. I rushed to the shore in a panic. I lifted up my pants to check. Damn, why does this water make you lose your hair too? Now, we're stronger, but also bald. A few minutes later, I wrapped my shirt tightly around my head and walked down the mountain shirtless. Guess there's no turning back now. On my way, I whacked another dozen or so demons and picked up another dozen or so free attribute points. Just as I reached the foot of the mountain, the weasel ran off. I just kept heading toward the town. As soon as I got there, I saw streets full of cultivators from every sect. There were even people flying past overhead on swords. At that moment, a few young people walked out of a nearby shop. The righteous and demonic paths have always kept out of each other's way. So what's going on today? Suddenly, we're fighting the righteous sects. Yeah, you mountain sect is holding the border with their subsects. With our low cultivation, we can't get on the battlefield, so we're stuck doing logistics. When I heard that, my steps faltered. Why did the righteous and demonic sects suddenly start a war? My little sister is still at U Mountain sect. I took a deep breath. Worry comes from caring too much. With my current foundation establishment level, I'd just be cannon fodder if I went there. I need to get stronger first. So I turned and headed home. That night I sat on my bed. The resources in this town and the mountain are still limited. Maybe I should leave the newbie village and start a new quest. Just then, the weasel climbed in through the window, with a black cloth somehow tied around himself. He jumped up onto the table. Bro, are you meditating? Why are you just sitting there without moving? I turned to look at him. Do you want to leave the mountain and see the outside world? The weasel scratched his face. I wouldn't mind. I just haven't been outside before. But following you is still better than staying in these mountains. I glanced at him. The righteous and demonic paths are at war now. It's really dangerous. Aren't you afraid of dying? The weasel patted his chest. If I'm with you, bro, what's there to be afraid of? Worst case, I pee myself again. The next morning, I was surprised to find that my hair had already grown back, even thicker than before, and a lot smoother. I left a letter for my little sister on the table. Sis, I'm going out to travel for a while, so don't worry. Then I went to the back mountain and kowtowed a few times to my parents' graves. With the weasel in my bag, I headed straight for Hanyang City. Hanyang City is the closest major city to town, and it's where some rare herbs originate as well. After Hanyang City, I'll go to Zhongdao City. Once I get to Zhongdao City, I should have almost all the herbs I need. After a few days on the road, I'd finally arrived at the Alchemist Guild in Hanyang. I handed the list of medicinal ingredients to the shopkeeper. Do you have these? The shopkeeper flipped through it. Most of them are in stock, but the prices have tripled compared to last year. I pulled out a stack of banknotes from my storage pouch and handed it over. Money's not an issue. After all these years going into the mountains, I've saved up quite a bit. A few minutes later, I took the bag. Before I could even open it to check, a hand landed on my shoulder. I turned around. and saw an old Taoist priest standing behind me. He stared at my face for a long time, then shook his head in disbelief. It's been more than 20 years. Young friend, you haven't changed a bit. As he spoke, he sent a stream of spiritual sense over me. After a scan, he couldn't help but take a few steps back. Middle stage foundation establishment. When did you gain cultivation? I cleared my throat. So you're elder of U Mountain sect who recruited disciples back in town? I've had some fateful encounters these years, and gained some cultivation. Even my 5 senses have started coming back. Let's step aside and have a talk. He and I found a tea house and sat down. The old Taoist took a sip of tea. The sect leader severely injured the heavenly demon back then by burning his blood essence, and he's been in secluded recovery all these years. The sect's been propped up by just a few elders. Thankfully, Ruo has been impressive. At this point, he gave a thumbs up. Your sister's talent is truly exceptional. I've never seen anything like it in my life. With abundant resources and talent, she's already half a step into the golden core stage. She's become the pillar supporting U Mountain sect in resisting the demonic path. All parties of righteousness have formed an alliance too. Holding the line for another decade or so shouldn't be a problem. But this child has a demon in her heart because she couldn't fulfill her filial duty. It's eating at her soul. Her cultivation has stalled and can't break through. Plus, she's been on the front lines for years, so the demonic path sees her as their main target. There have already been dozens of assassination attempts, both overt and covert. Hearing this, I opened the system, took out a fresh purity-breaking demon pill and handed it to him. I trust you, Senior. Please deliver this elixir to Enruo for me. The old Taoist took the pill and nodded. Rest assured, young friend. I promise to deliver it. A few minutes later, the old Taoist got up and left. I held my teacup, deep in thought. My little sister is still fighting on the front lines, but with just foundation establishment. In the middle stage, I can't really help her. Now, I need to do 2 things to improve my strength. Collect medicinal ingredients to refine higher grade 5 elements creator pills. Time is tight, and the task is heavy. Just then, the yellow weasel in the bag stuck its head out. Big bro, where are we going next? I finished my tea in 1 gulp. After Zongdao City, on the day spent traveling, I gathered herbs along the way, and fought everyone I met. That day, after knocking down a burly man, I searched through his pockets. Whenever 2 groups got into a fight, random nobodies would show up everywhere. It's not like I'm some brawler by nature. But if you come looking for trouble, with such little strength you still dare to rob people. I took the man's banknotes and snacks and put them in my storage pouch. Today I ran into a slanderer. Tomorrow will be a lone cultivator. And the next day, some bizarre character blocking my path. But they all got knocked down with a punch from me. At this moment, the system's voice sounded. Congratulations, host, on defeating a Foundation Establishment early stage enemy. Awarded 1 point of strength attribute. Upon hearing this, I opened the system panel. These errand boys aren't totally useless, after all. Besides getting money, I earn extra attribute points too. My strength attribute is already at 50 points. The Grand Wilderness Body Refining Manual is about to reach great completion. The future is bright. A few days later, I was resting in a tea house. I overheard 2 burly men at the next table having an animated conversation. One of them picked up his wine cup. Brother, have you heard the news? There's a kid who's been making a big name for himself lately. They call him something like Barbaric Vajra. The other man stuffed some meat in his mouth. Who doesn't know about that? They say it's a young guy who looks barely in his 20s. He knows neither magic nor swordsmanship. He just uses his iron fist to beat every opponent. Never lost a single fight. Even so, that'd be nothing. But he doesn't use his skills for evil. He even took down lots of crooks and bandits. Truly, troubled times make heroes. After listening for a bit, I paid my bill and left. So satisfying wasn't a waste getting rid of those petty thugs. The weasel in my bag climbed up my shoulder along my clothes. Big bro, you're famous now too. Barbaric Vajra sure sounds imposing. Before he could finish, a figure appeared right in front of me. A sharp sword aura emanated all around him. Even the weasel on my shoulder trembled. Big bro, I don't think this guy is easy to deal with. The man cupped his fists and spoke. I am Sword Maniac, at the peak of Foundation establishment. I've long heard of barbaric Vajra's reputation. Today I wish to challenge you. I looked at him and sighed. Is there any way we don't have to fight?
He smirked and said, "No way."
With that, he drew his sword right away. A sharp sword light slashed toward me. I dodged to the side. The sword energy cut a 3-foot deep trench into the ground. Seeing this, I stuffed the weasel back into my bag. Such a fast sword. Immediately, I pushed off with my feet, charging straight at Sword Maniac. He unleashed 7 sword strikes in a row. Each strike was filled with intense sword intent. I dodged left and right, but still got a few cuts on my body. As the distance closed, he raised his hand and unleashed his final sword strike, pouring all his sword energy into it, forming a massive spirit sword over 10 meters long. He swung it down at me from above. I neither dodged nor retreated. I swung my right fist in a full arc to meet it. My fist collided with the massive spirit sword. With a loud boom, the giant sword shattered completely. The long sword in Sword Maniac's hand buzzed and trembled incessantly. He quickly staggered back 7 or 8 steps. He looked down at the cracks between his thumb and finger, was silent for a few seconds. I lost. He sheathed his sword as he said this, cupped his fist to me in respect, then turned around and left. The system's voice sounded. Congratulations, host, you defeated Sword Maniac. Reward, 10 free attribute points. I looked at my system panel. Almost 50 free attribute points. Where should I allocate them? Sometimes having too many attribute points can be troublesome. Guess I'll just save them for now. A few days later, I finally arrived at Cheongdao City. I headed straight for the Alchemist Guild. After purchasing the last batch of herbs, one rented the largest alchemy room. Once I locked the door, I still didn't feel safe enough. Last time I refined a low-grade 5 elements creation pill. The commotion of the pill coming out directly brought the elders of the Alchemist Guild over. This time, even the weakest herbs I gathered are mid-grade. It's bound to cause an even bigger commotion. Can't let things go wrong again. Thinking that, I opened the system. Hey, system, let's discuss something. Can I use attribute points to exchange directly for certain items? The system spoke lazily. Oh, wow. Since you're asking nicely. I, your emperor, approve. What item do you want? I thought for a moment. Do you have something that can block out all detection? Something that protects privacy? The next moment, an old-looking scroll appeared in my hand. The system spoke up. Privacy scroll. Single-use item. After using it, no one can spy on you. No aura within its range will leak out. Giving you a discount this time. It'll be 50 attribute points. I gritted my teeth and unrolled the scroll. This item cost me 50 attribute points. I really don't know if the system ripped me off or not. The next moment, an invisible barrier enveloped the entire alchemy room. I took out all the herbs I'd collected over the years, took a deep breath and lit the alchemy furnace, then began refining the 5 elements creation pill. Making a mid-grade one was several times harder than the low-grade. The fire control had to be precise down to the breath. When to add each herb, the order and timing, even a second off wouldn't do. I was entirely focused. Sweat dripped from my forehead onto the floor. 2 hours later, the furnace began shaking violently. 5 colored light shined through the cracks in the lid. Seeing that, I hurried to control the heat. If it weren't for the privacy scroll, that commotion would have made the whole guild freak out. Glad I was smart enough to prepare in advance. As a stream of light appeared, the furnace lid popped off. A pill radiating brilliant 5-colored light hovered in midair. I was overjoyed. A mid-grade 5 elements creation pill. I took a deep breath and looked out the window. The boundless night and the rolling distant mountains. The mid-grade 5 elements creation pill shimmered with a gentle light in my palm. 20 years of silent imprisonment. All the killing and scheming on my path seemed to have settled into this glow. I have no spiritual root. But since this world closed its door on me, I will carve out my own window. The road ahead remains shrouded in chaos. The war between good and evil still rages, just like when I was in the immortal sect. But as I feel the artificial spiritual root inside me resonate with the pill's power, I suddenly burst out laughing. If there's no path, I'll make one myself. In this end of the age of enlightenment, I'll pursue immortality to the very end.